Binging is good. This is Chatterbinge.
Our next guest is known as the Gordon Ramsay of the bar and nightclub business and has become one of the more compelling personalities on television. Season 10 of Bar Rescue premieres Sunday, February 22nd on the Paramount Network. It is great to say hello to Jon Taffer. Jon, welcome to Chatterbinge.
Ed, good to be here with you.
You have started, flipped, or owned more than 600 bars and clubs. So let me start here. Take me back. What was the first one, and what was it that attracted you to this business in the first place?
You know, Ed, I went to college at University of Denver, and I took political science and cultural anthropology classes. I'm glad I didn't go into politics looking at it today, so that was a good choice. But I started attending bar in college, and I just fell in love with the social aspect of it. I wound up going to Los Angeles, California, and I got a job at the Troubadour, the famous Troubadour in Hollywood, California. Became a manager there, worked at another famous venue called Barney's Beanery, and I just fell in love with the business and evolved in it. You know, became a restaurant manager, became a vice president of a restaurant company, became a resort general manager in a hotel business, became vice president of a hotel company. So I have a very, very deep track record in hospitality. And Bar Rescue sort of goes back to my youth and the days when I was only in the bar business. But a lot of the work that I've done as a consultant is developing bars within hotel properties all over the world. So that our consulting practice really focuses very much on the hotel industry.
So 10 seasons in now on Bar Rescue. What still fires you up? What shakes and stirs you still most about doing this show?
You know, the personal element, you know, that husband who's drinking and his wife is home and the house is on the line. You know, I can't understand how a husband can do that to a wife. So that infuriates me, and vice versa. I got one this season, Ed. It'll blow you away. Imagine this. You're 50 years old. You've opened a bar. You've spent all of your parents' retirement. You've lost your own house. You're living in the basement of your parents' house. You've blown their total retirement. And now they're about to lose their house. So now I'm dropped in. I not only have to save the bar, Ed, I have to save the house. So they're behind in taxes and payroll taxes, and these are terrible situations.
Yeah.
But to me, it isn't about the bar. It's about the people. It's about the family. It's about getting those kids to college. It's about so many more powerful things that bar can help facilitate. That's why I fight so hard for it.
And that's why every single one of these episodes is different and unique in its own way. So take me a little deeper into season 10. There are some special guests in store. What's up for season 10?
Well, season 10 is probably the most emotional season we've had. It just, you know, how this works out. A lot of family dynamics this season. So there are houses on the line. I mean, some of these people haven't said yes to their children in years. They had some wealth. You know, they were middle-class people before they went into these businesses.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's an interesting thing I'll tell you that's fascinating. When I get my hug in the end, Ed, and you've seen those hugs now many, many times, we wear microphones on our chest so nobody can hear what we're saying to each other during those hugs. And I wish you could, because in that moment, they'll say things to me like, Jon, you're the father I never had. Thank you.
Wow.
Jon, I needed that kick in the butt. Thank you. Jon, my wife is talking to me again. My relationship is better. My son and I are communicating. The things they say to me in that hug, Ed, is so powerful. It makes me fight harder the next week because I find that the ones who fight me the most give me the biggest hugs.
Isn't that amazing? All this conflict, and it gets resolved in this wonderful, beautiful way at the end. And I would imagine for you, with your expertise, when you go in and you see some of the problems in the operation of these bars and restaurants, and maybe why they're not performing as well as they should, how frustrating is it for you to see a lack of attention to the most fixable, the most obvious of problems by managers that think they know everything, but they're just oblivious? How frustrating is that to you?
Well, you know, I tell them all the time that you know, their ego is the way their bar looks. Ego should be how much money you have in your wallet. You know, it's very, and I tell them this to their face. You've probably seen me say it. You know, your ego means nothing when you're broke, man. You have no ego. You have nothing to have ego about. You're failing. And sometimes my biggest challenge, Ed, is getting them to admit that they are failing. See, they'll say the bar is failing, but they'll never say they're failing. But every failing business has a failing owner, doesn't it?
It does. It's a very good point. Yeah.
But if you wake up in the morning and you look in the mirror and you blame yourself, you're not going to like that. You will change. So I believe the common denominator of failure is the excuse. Stop the excuses. Own it. look in your own eyes, hold yourself accountable, and that's when change happens.
You bring a mirror that maybe they just don't have in their life already. You know, I'm watching the show and I start thinking about things, and I think about how, all right, Lincoln once said 7 years ago. Kennedy once said, ask not what your country can do for you. This morning, I heard you say, I'm here to save your ass, not kiss it. And I love that approach. And to me, that is the ultimate Jon quote right there. So why does that approach? Because, you know, you get to a wonderful place with these people at the end and you help them. But you know what? It gets kind of rocky along the way. So why does that approach, when embedded within your own inherent personality, why does that work best for you? Why is that your special secret sauce?
You know, it's interesting. In real life, I have a lot more time. This would be a 60-day project, Ed, that I'm doing in 4 days. So I'm a raving maniac, man. I mean, it's insane. The clock is ticking every minute. I don't have time for them to get on my bus. They got to get on it right now. I don't have time for them to think about it or digest it or assess it. They got to do it now. And I've never been to these bars before. I don't see any videos in advance. I've never met these people. I know nothing about them. I get about a half-hour briefing before I go in, Ed. So the audience I'm never ahead of the audience. I never know something they don't. When I learn it, you learn it. We learn it all at the same time, so it's completely real. At some point in the process, they realize that as aggressive as I'm being, I am actually have their best interest at heart. And I'm fighting for them, not against them. At some point, they realize that, and then they start to turn, and we start to build a more positive relationship. But in the beginning, I don't have time to build that relationship. I got to go to work, and that's why it gets so ugly.
And there is always a point in every Bar Rescue episode where that person, you can see it on their face, and you can feel it in their heart when they realize he's right. He gets it. He understands it. Let me go here. It's a bit macro, but you're the perfect person to ask this. What is the biggest problem facing the hospitality industry today?
Well, I think the biggest issue, is human resources. You know, the restaurant industry has turnover of 120 to 160% a year. You know, in Europe and other places in the world, it's a profession. It's a profession of honor to serve. In America, it tends to be a stepping stone to the next job. That turnover creates serious training burdens. You're training and training all the time. That's one of the biggest challenges in the business, is just keeping everybody trained and on top of their game. And then, of course, finding the right people is a challenge today. But, Ed, we have so many challenges today. Rents are through the roof. Utility costs are through the roof. You know, our food and beverage costs are higher. In the state of California, for example, I was talking to a friend the other day who owns an incredibly successful restaurant in Hollywood, a famous one. Tells me, John, I can't make money anymore. The payroll's up to $28 an hour for my servers. I can't make a living anymore. I'm going to have to leave California. So, you know, there's a lot of government regulations and a lot of issues that challenge our industry today. And, you know, I say to anybody listening, if there's a local restaurant in your community or any local business that you can support, please support it.
Exactly.
We're going to lose these businesses if we don't collectively try to support them.
It's a very competitive business. It's not what it was. And the turnover within that industry is unbelievable. And you put all that money, expense, and that sweat equity into training people, and it's a very difficult game. But this is a very interesting look at that game. Once again, Season 10 of Bar Rescue. It premieres Sunday, February 22nd on the Paramount Network. Jon Taffer, I've enjoyed this. Thanks so much for joining us here on Chatterbinge.
Oh, my pleasure, Ed. You're terrific. I look forward to next time, my friend.
You got it as well. Take care. Have a good day.
You too.
I'm Ed Kalegi.
This is Chatterbinge.
And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you can always catch our best guest conversations and segments right here on the YouTube home of Chatterbinge.